let's talk about, just maybe you can answer for me, like, what is the reality of the training that they have gotten, if any, to or for one of these types of incidents?
So I can only speak to my department and what we've been doing for the last 20 years since I've been an officer. I remember in the academy, we didn't have any active shooter training, and I got on in 2005, right? So that was a few years after Columbine.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple years after I had just got on the SWAT team, we did our first big active shooter training when I was there.
Took that
right?
long.
So that was 3 years after that we did a first big active shooter training. Luckily, we did it a couple more times throughout the next few years, but then it was probably 4 or 5, 6 years until we had anything else. And then I put on a huge one last year for our whole department, and it was the first time that a lot of those guys who had had less than 10 years on had ever been to an active shooter training.
This blows my mind, and I wonder how much of the public actually knows this. And I only say that because I have a kid in school, at public school, right? And I realize every day when that kid gets dropped off at school, I'm putting the life, my stepdaughter's life, in the hands of what I know are incapable individuals. I already know this, and I don't mean police officers. I mean the people that are first in line there. They're not capable. And part of it is, I don't think they're informed. We'll get into the training of those people here in a minute. I don't think they're informed. I think they're ignorant. And I think at the same time, their mindset is, well, we've done the 2-hour, 6-hour, whatever training block that the district, the school district requires us to do. We signed the sheet.
We watched the mandatory video.
Dude, I watched that video today, as a matter of fact, for the county. Man, it's like, first off, I don't know how people stay awake in it. And I will tell you this, like in the room, because they were filming the instructors that were providing this training, there's probably 100 chairs, and there might have been 25 people in that room. So, and I don't know if they were voluntold to be there, if this was by that they could show up if they wanted to or whatever. But I'm listening to that video, and from the people that are delivering that information, which are third party. It's a third party company. It's not the local law enforcement agency or whatever else. So there's zero fucking collaboration between the people that would actually respond, right, and the realities of what they have available to them in terms of resources and everything else, and the people that are obviously going to be standing there between somebody with a gun or a knife or whatever ill will and our kids. It was mind-blowing. I got super fired up about it, man. I was sweating watching it and just gritting my teeth. So, again, going back, like you went multiple years before you even got the training. Then you went another, 6 years, I think you said, before you even got the second one. And you just now, after 15 years on the team, delivered the first one to the department that was actually more like, what can we call it, like real life scenario training? I mean, what does that look like?
We did scenario training before, but this one, the one that we just put on last year, was kind of, it was teaching these guys to get the mindset to get in, right? And that's the other problem too within law enforcement is, when do you get to train it? When's the time? Everybody's so short-staffed that how do you put that training on? And that was a big thing with our department, is when they asked me to put it on, they said, how much time do you need? I said 20 hours minimum.
Right. How much? As much as I can get. Yeah.
And they said, we can't give you that. I said, okay, give me 10.
Of course not.
They said,
of course not.
You can't get that. How about 4?
Jesus.
And I was like, 4 hours. So I had to do the best that I could with that 4 hours and do as many runs and scenarios and drills to get these people going and realizing, hey, I can do this. I don't need to know the dance steps, but as long as I know the concepts of what I need to do to get into that room and to find that bad guy, I'm going to do it.
So I think that's what I meant before, or kind of what I was talking about before, just with like the understanding the realities of this and people getting caught in the weeds. Maybe I said this before we got on, getting caught in the weeds with all the detail versus understanding the higher level concepts. Because you put somebody in a room for 6 hours and you try to pump all this information down their throat with like, let's get inside the mindset of the active assailant. Like, I don't need to be in there. I need to know what to do when he shows up to my front door. Like because when none of that matters when he gets there. The basic concepts are, he's here to hurt people. Ultimately, he will hurt himself in the end. He has no care for life. He's going to do what he can or she can do until they can't anymore, and then they're likely going to kill themselves. That's all you need to know. That's bad.
Yeah.
It's just real bad.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next step, right? So I think, like, I wonder, going back to your 4 hours, how many officers we got to put through this thing in a 4-hour period?
Each class I would have between 25 and 30 dudes.
Holy shit.
Right? And so that's a lot of dudes to put through a 4-hour training. So I did the best that I can, and we got rep after rep after rep, and we got lots of good, quick scenarios in that each had a different point to it that built on each other, right? So I'd have, okay, I'm going to work on room entries on this one. Okay, now I'm going to add room entry. Yeah. Crawl, walk, run to develop specific skills to bigger things towards the end, right? And that's kind of the way I like to teach it, and the way that within Arizona, and as I've traveled the country, there's not really a standardization of how to do things nationwide. There's a couple big companies out there that are put on by federal agencies and things like that, that teach stuff that they were teaching 15 years ago.
Big surprise.
Right?
I'm so surprised.
And tactics change. There's a good guy, one of my partners that I work with on my unit. He always says, if you're not willing to evolve, what happens to things that don't evolve? They die.
Yeah.
Right. And tactics always are changing. And if we can make better tactics, then let's do it. Let's not keep doing the same thing we were doing 15 years ago. And that's why I'm kind of proud of what we're building within our community here in Arizona. Is we've gotten with several guys from all different agencies all around Arizona, and we're coming together to come up with the same concepts, the same curriculum to build, so that if my next door agency shows up to my call, like whether it's Phoenix or Tempe or Mesa, we all have the same understanding. We may do a little bit different dance steps, but as long as those concepts are understood and what we have to do, then it's a win. I can jump in anybody's stack from any agency and flow along with them because the concepts are the same, right? And that's what we're trying to build here is statewide, is teaching the same thing and teaching it the same way. That way we're all on the same page when it does happen.